I feel many times companies they have an idea and they feel that it's gonna assist people with disabilities, and they sometimes they're on point, but more often than not, I really find that they don't understand the true barriers, and so that's why I think it's so important for innovators to really connect in the very early stages to learn what the barriers are and work together to help overcome those. We have worked with Praxis Spinal Cord Institute for many years now. We have a very strong bond, and that makes it so important for us to be able to work efficiently together and trust that we're not missing anything, that all the check marks are checked, and that we're able to assist in the project working smoothly and as productively as possible. Well, as I mentioned before, it, people with lived experience, they understand the true problems. They live it every day. And so that's why not only is it critical to involve us with the early stages of development, but also through every step of the process to make sure that you're following the correct path, and that you're not accidentally leaving astray, and that your final outcome is going to be as impactful as possible for people with disabilities.
When I think about it, this project wasn't just about testing an innovative new cooling technology. It was more about ensuring that individuals living with spinal cord injury or other disabilities who are particularly vulnerable to heat could live safely and comfortably in their own residences during heat waves. That was the primary goal that we had, and that is what led us towards this initiative. And then we started thinking about how can we help this community, and that's when the innovation part came second after that. So it was more about going towards that purpose, and so that clarity of purpose was basically my anchor throughout all this uncertainty, like the delays, the regulatory hurdles, and the technical unknowns. Also, our approach was deeply grounded in collaboration that you have seen with TFL and the other stakeholders that we had. And we didn't try to do this in isolation. We brought together innovators, clinicians, policy members, members of the community, people with lived experience, and as well as our funders to stay aligned at every step towards that shared goal that we all were working towards. Firstly, start with empathy, not the technology. Innovation, as I mentioned, isn't just about introducing something new, it's about solving a real problem that truly matters. So, when you understand the lived experience of the people you are trying to do a positive impact on, the direction of the innovation becomes much clearer and far more resilient in your approach. Secondly, I would say embracing partnerships early is really key. When you are challenging systems and silos, it means that you can't really think about doing it alone. Bringing together various stakeholders, especially end users, from the beginning helps reduce some of the potential roadblocks that you can kind of get to down the line. It also, I believe, builds a sense of shared ownership where all the stakeholders feel that they are part of the solution, which is very critical for scaling innovation in this kind of context. And then finally, I would say be patient but at the same time be persistent as well. When you are dealing with external stakeholders, it can sometimes mean regular follow-ups and multiple follow-ups. And instead of looking at it as a hindrance, I would recommend building that in as part of your project planning.
I think I will address obviously the matter of inclusivity, but I think, if I put on my hat as an innovator, it's really starting with what is the problem we're trying to solve? Whose needs are we meeting? And do we truly understand? Are we really listening to what those needs are? I've been in innovation for over 10 years, and I think it's so easy to get attracted by new technologies, AI, clean tech, but they're human beings we're serving. And particularly in the work we do at Praxis and along with technology for living, if we really center the needs of the person with lived experience, it's also a source of huge creativity because we can find solutions that we wouldn't find if we're not listening carefully, or we create solutions that actually don't meet the needs and waste a ton of funding and supports. And what I always tell people who, maybe impact is a newer place for them because part of my role is to bring those voices in alongside the work we do. I said, it's actually much more efficient if you actually listen to the person with lived experience first. You're going to save a lot of time and effort and money. And when you center that voice, it becomes a good way of negotiating hard times and deciding what's important. So it's always sometimes I need a refresher to remind me what's important. It's a very clear call when I have a difficult decision to make in projects like this, which aren't easy to implement. So it plays such a big role in my life, in the work that we do, and it's something you're never an expert at. You can never hear enough voices. Number one, I think in Canada, we have a real challenge in adopting new innovation, full stop. And this project took on something really hard where we try to implement a new clean tech technology that's more efficient than even current state heat pumps, prioritize people with disabilities, and went through a complex procurement and permitting process. And by de-risking the permitting process, which we were able to do, we were able to, with huge difficulty and a lot of work from the team, de-risk that. We've created a tentative model, a tentative template of how we can look at permitting differently, bring new green technology into the city and other cities, how it is possible, how city permitting groups do actually want to hear when there's a health risk. How do we do it in a way that they can comprehend that they can streamline the permitting, and that we actually get new technology into use? Because it's a burning issue in Canada in health and in climate is the regulatory piece. So that's one. Number two is, we went through this process where, when I look at my role, there's always this tension. There's a tension of bringing the right voices at the right time appropriately. But also in innovation, you can't wait 5 years for something to happen. And in the climate crisis, it's a crisis. So yes, they're longer term projects, but for me, the immediacy of the need among the community was so high. So it was also a kind of model on how to engage, not perfectly, I don't think we're ever there, but engage appropriately on fast cycles to get a very aggressive timeline met. And I think, Ian may have alluded to it, but part of the trust is, for example, our relationship with TFL. On a dime's notice, they would open up their warehouse for new technologies coming in and out. That trust is built from a 5-year relationship. But then it does allow me to open the call and ask for an unexpected thing and say, here's the situation with the permitters and the quality control. It's building relationships, but then the relationships can be nimble when they need to be. And I think that needs to be in the conversation when we talk about equity and inclusion a bit more. We can talk about the perfect setting the stage and all this time, but then nothing gets done. So how do we build trust capital to have really agile things so that stuff like the climate emergency will need emergency planning and emergency adaptation. And so then it's not about next year. People are overheating today. We need to bring that action-oriented approach while not, being marginalizing people. And that's, I think, not a perfect attempt, but I think it was, I would congratulate the team that we got closer to it than other projects I've seen in, in sort of our neck of the woods.